Alright, we have talked about the first principle of tangency, which is used to join an arc with a straight line. And we've also discussed the second principle of tangency, which is used to join two arcs internally. Now, we are looking at the third principle of tangency as written here, that this principle is used to join two arcs externally. So I've shown you what we mean by internal part of an arc and the external part of an arc. So as I said under principle 2, that this is the internal part, this inner part is the internal part of an arc, while this outer part is the external part of an arc. So these two arcs that we have here, so let's call this arc AB, and we have this to be arc LM. Okay, so these two arcs, they touch each other externally. They touch each other externally. So how can we make these two arcs to touch each other externally? So that's what I want to explain to you here. If you look at this arc AB, it has a radius capital letter R, and arc LM, it has a radius small letter r. So for us to be able to draw this arc LM to touch this arc AB externally at this point, we need to do something. And what do we have to do? We have to locate this point Q. We have to locate it. We have to locate it. So how can we locate this point P here? What we need to do is to determine the value of R1. R1 is, it has a radius or a distance from this point O to this point P, which is also equal to the distance of O to this point. So how will you determine the value of R here? R1. How will you determine the value of R1? That's what I've explained here. That for you to calculate R1, you add the value of the radius of arc LM, which is small letter r, with the radius of arc AB, which is capital letter R. You add them together. By the time you add them together, you get the value of R1. You get the value of R1. So what you just need to do is to put your compass, take the radius R1 that you have calculated, you put it at this point O here, and you make an arc. You make an arc. So the arc will touch this line at this point P. Then you now take the radius of arc LM, you take it and you put it at this point, put the midpoint of the compass at this point, and you draw this arc. So let's assume that the radius of arc AB is 40. That is R is 40. And the radius of arc LM is 20. That means we have 40 plus 20. So 40 plus 20 will give us 60. So you take this as R1, 60 millimeters, put it at point O here, and you draw this arc. So after drawing this arc, you just take the radius of the small arc or arc LM, you take it 20 millimeters, you put it at this point, and you draw this arc. So the arcs will touch each other externally at this point, which is the point of tangency. Okay, now I believe that is clear. Let's come to the application of the third principle of tangency. We want these two circles to touch this arc externally, to touch the external part of the arc. So how can we do that? We have that this circle, this big circle has a radius of R1, and this small circle has a radius of R2. Then this arc has a radius of R, as we have here. So we need to locate this point Q here. We need to locate this point Q. So for us to be able to locate point Q here, we need to determine the value of R3 and the value of R4. Okay, so how can we get R3 and R4? That's what I've explained here. So for you to get R3, what you need to do is to add the radius of the big circle with the radius of this arc, which is R. So that means we have what? We have R3 to be equal to R plus R1. So if R equals, let's assume that R equals 50. R equals 50. And R1 is 30. So for us to get R3, so R3 will be equal to 50 plus 30, which will give us 80 millimeters. So you take these 80 millimeters with your compass, you put it at this point. Let's call the center of the circle. Let me call it AB. Okay. So you take these 80 millimeters and put the pinpoint of your compass at this center of the circle, which is center A, and you draw this arc. Then you determine the value of R4. So for us to get R4, so let's assume that R2 is equal to 20 millimeters. So R4 will now be equal to 50 plus 20, which should give us 70 millimeters. So you take these 70 millimeters with your compass, you put the pinpoint of your compass at point B here, and you draw this arc. So these two arcs intersect at this point, which is point Q. So now take 50 millimeters. You take this 50 millimeters, which is the radius of this arc. You take this 50 millimeters with your compass, put the pinpoint on the compass at this point Q, and you draw this arc. So this arc that we have here, it touched this circle at this point, so we call it point of tangency. It touched this circle at this point, we call it the point of tangency. So after constructing this arc, these circles have automatically touched this arc externally. So this is how you can draw two arcs that will touch each other externally. So it's as simple as I've explained it here. So what you just need to do is to perform these simple calculations. So we're able to perform these simple calculations, you can construct this and construct the one that are even more complex than this with the use of these principles of tangency, or by applying the principles of tangency. So I really appreciate your contribution, for listening and for watching my videos on YouTube. Thank you. God bless you.